Dragons, dragons, and more dragons. Here are Elden Ring Dragons ranked from the worst to the best. Flying Dragon Agheel. One of the first dragons that you can encounter in the lands between, and if you're not expecting it, it can be quite a shock to the system the first time you see it. The wings, the scales, and the tail all add to the amazing aesthetic of these dragons. This is one of the more routine dragon fights in the game, that is, if you can call fighting a dragon routine. Like you would expect out of a routine dragon, its ability to breathe fire is the Agheel's greatest threat. If you have your trusty steed, this dragon boss fight becomes much easier since you're able to constantly keep moving so that it doesn't get locked onto you. Or if you're able to keep your distance and use magic like we did, it's fairly simple. This dragon can be a challenge at the very beginning of the game, but once you level up a bit, this will barely make you break a sweat. Flying Dragon Greyll. While Greyll looks very similar to how Agheel did, it doesn't mean that this dragon will be as easy to take out. It has more health and does a lot more damage, especially if you get caught in its fiery breath, which killed us in 2 hits. You're also fighting this dragon in a much more confined space, with only a minute amount of space left and right to maneuver since Greyll's wingspan covers the entirety of the bridge. You'll want to use the room you have behind you to create the space necessary to damage this dragon. As with any boss in Elden Ring, you'll need to take the time to learn its moves, and before you know it, Flying Dragon Greyll will end up just like Flying Dragon Agheel, another stepping stone on your way to the tippity top. Glintstone Dragon Smarag. You'll more than likely come across this dragon fairly early on in your exploration of the lands between, because as the name Glintstone Dragon Smarag suggests, it's protecting a vital item that you'll need. That item is the Glintstone key and allows you access into Rhea Lucaria Academy that then lets you fight the boss Renala, Queen of the Full Moon. This dragon has a unique aesthetic from the other dragons thanks to the teal glintstone that is embedded in the body of this dragon. That effect also carries over into its fire attack as well, having the same teal effect. It would also seem as if the glintstone makes that fire attack much stronger because if you're not able to get away from the flames, it will whittle you away until you're nothing more than a simple "you died" text in the middle of your screen. Magma Wyrm. Moving away from the regular looking dragons, the Magma Wyrm looks as if a salamander had a lifelong dream to be a dragon and did whatever it could to make that dream come true. It has a much more flat, wide body and rounded head, unlike the pointed beak on the previous dragons. Oh yeah, and because Elden Ring, this thing for some reason has some kind of big giant blade that it can slice and dice you up with. These are the main attacks that you'll need to watch out for, but like the name insists, it will almost vomit, excuse the awful word choice, hot molten magma your direction every once in a while. The Magma Wyrm will deal decent damage, but if you're somewhat leveled up, you shouldn't have any trouble tanking the hits or dealing enough damage to worry too much. Magma Wyrm Makar. First question you're probably asking yourself. What is the difference between the last dragon and this one? Well, the last one was a Magma Wyrm, and this one is a Magma Wyrm Makar. So, I feel like that's pretty obvious. But on a real note, the aesthetics of these two look almost identical, with this one being the bigger, much angrier brother that has learned some new moves. This dragon will lunge at you with a mouthful of magma, forcing you to choose a right or left direction instead of just retreating backwards. It also has the same blade the other Magma Wyrm did, which I guess has to be some kind of family heirloom or something. It also seems as if it has a slight bit more health and deals a touch more damage. Oh, also, learn from us and don't try to roll straight through the magma. It was quite hot, but not in a good way. Great Worm Theodorix. A stark environmental change in this boss arena. Fighting dragons in caves with molten magma around to fighting in a frozen tundra was a nice change of scenery. It seems as if Theodorix falls in the same dragon family as the Magma Wyrm and Makar, but with a name like Theodorix, this dragon is even more angry and powerful. When you get hit by Theodorix, you feel it. Something incredibly awesome but strange happened during our fight with Theodorix. A land octopus actually emerged from under the ice and ended up being our battle buddy? taking the aggressiveness away from us and dealing some damage in the process. This allowed us to open fire and cause as much damage as possible until old Theodorix was no more. This also gave us a pretty amazing perspective on how massive and majestic these horrifying monsters really are. Borealis the Freezing Fog. You're riding Torrent across a frozen tundra. You can barely see in front of you, and then, all of a sudden, you hear a blood-curdling screech, and Borealis the Freezing Fog appears in front of you. Visibility is going to be limited in this boss fight, which will make it more difficult. It also seems to have all the standard assortment of dragon attacks, just in a different variety. That variety being frozen. Just let it go. Icy breath that it will try to fly over you and hit you with, or stand in front of you and create a wall of ice breath that will hurt if you're not able to get out of the way. If you have the ability to use the Comet Azure sorcery, we highly recommend you use it because, as you can see, Borealis really didn't seem to have any kind of counter to this attack. Decaying Ekzykes. From a frozen tundra to a decaying dragon in a putrid environment. This kind of variety is one example of why Elden Ring is such a fantastic game. As you could expect, this boss fight is going to be nasty, with its festering breath that we all know has to burn your nostrils when it's inhaled. When you're in close proximity, this attack will accumulate the Scarlet Rot status effect, which will take serious amounts of damage, and if you're not paying attention to it, you'll be dead before you can even react to it. You'll still have to watch out for the melee attacks as well. Ekzykes has pound attacks, sweeping attacks, and even aerial attacks that prove this dragon to be your toughest test yet. Glintstone Dragon Adula. While exploring Liurnia of the Lakes, at some point you'll stumble upon the Glintstone Dragon Adula. This dragon does look a bit different than the previous Glintstone Dragon, with a more purple tone to its accent pieces. We're just gonna call it that so that the dragon doesn't get upset at us. You'll quickly realize that this dragon is not one to be messed with and is more unique and powerful than the other dragons on this list. So far anyways. With 11,550 HP, this boss is going to require you to deal quite a bit of damage before taking it down. It also has some unique attacks, like the blue crystal ball that sends magic shards at you like heat-seeking missiles. It still has that classic glintstone fire that it can breathe at you to inflict pain, and one of the most unique aspects of this dragon is that at half health, Adula actually teleports away from the center of Three Sisters where you initially find it to the outside of the Cathedral of Manu Celis. Here it will actually be killable, but do know that it is strong against magic. Oh yeah, it also seems to have learned the ability to summon a giant magic sword. Hold that sword in its mouth and then fly at you and swing the sword at you. So do not, whatever you do, say we didn't warn you. Ancient Dragon Lansseax. Truth be told, we really don't know how to pronounce this dragon's name properly, so if you do know, make sure to let us know down in the comments. But these final three dragons have some of the most amazing aesthetics and stunning visuals, starting with the Ancient Dragon Lansseax that has not one, but two sets of full extended wings on its back, a stone-like texture to its skin, and a red, electric-like effect surging across its entire body. The neutral gray of its body mixed with the bright red really makes for an immaculate looking boss. And it also has the ability, by the way, to summon a giant electric blade to slice and dice you with. The way this dragon moves about and moves towards you almost makes you feel as if it's stalking you. Even though when you're a giant murdering dragon, it makes it a little difficult to lurk anywhere. Other than Lansseax's glaive attack, which you do get as a reward once defeating this dragon, the gambit of attacks this dragon will throw at you is pretty on par with what you've experienced from the previous dragons. A cool little tidbit about Lansseax is that she is actually the sister of the next dragon on our list, Lichdragon Fortisaxx. It would seem as if immaculate-looking boss fights run in this dragon family, as Fortisaxx follows and even one-ups his sister. With a much darker, meaner look, Fortisaxx seems as if it is going to be a much tougher opponent. He has that familiar red electric effect coursing throughout its body, with an added attack of black and gold lightning bolts that strike all around the battle arena. Fortisaxx seems to want to take to the skies quite a bit, and when it does decide to swipe back down on you, it is quick and it is powerful. One of the most amazing yet crap your pants attacks is when Fortisaxx takes to the sky, summons that red electric blade, which once again has just gotta be a family thing, right? And then swoops down and spins rapidly, creating a tornadic-like attack. One of the more eye-pleasing attacks we've witnessed in the game, just not in the moment when it's trying to kill you. Dragonlord Placidusax. With a name like Dragonlord Placidusax, there is no other place on this list that this dragon could have finished at. With over 26,000 HP, this boss will be the toughest dragon you've faced yet, but will give you a hefty reward the first time you beat it in the form of 280,000 runes. Elden Ring really sets the stage with this boss. From the anticipation building introductory cutscene to the ginormous Colosseum boss arena with lightning striking all around. This two-headed dragon is a badass as you would expect and hope it to be. It has the ability to summon massive red lightning bolts right at your feet, or colossal talons that the Dragonlord will try to sweep attack you with. And don't forget, it is a two-headed dragon, which means double the trouble, especially when it decides it wants to start breathing fire from both heads, attacking you from different angles. This boss fight will test you like you'd expect from a Dragonlord. One of its biggest attacks was when it summoned a red staff, stabbed it into the ground, and then had a massive AoE attack that absolutely annihilates everything around it. In phase 2, it will start to fade into ash and then reappear in a dark, gloomy cloud, emerging with great speed to try and swipe you with its claws. It also utilizes its double-headed capabilities again in the form of a giant laser that is emitted from both of its mouths, sweeping across the entire arena. This boss will not be easy, and it shouldn't be easy because the euphoric feeling you get once you see Legend Felled will be worth all of the "you died" screens you saw in the process. And just a friendly heads up, since you will be getting a whole bunch of dragon hearts from slaying all of these dragons, you can actually use them to trade at the Church of Dragon Communion for dragon-based incantations. We really hope you enjoyed, and make sure to let us know which dragon was your favorite down in the comments below. If you enjoyed, consider liking and subscribing for future videos, and we'll see you in the next one.